First contact with the unseen. The galactic research vessel, Endless Curiosity, had been tracking an unusual energy signature for 3 standard cycles. Chief researcher Valera adjusted her crystalline sensory apparatus as she studied the readouts. Something about human space was different, not just their inexplicable technological advances, but the way their machinery behaved. Another anomaly. Chief, her assistant Xenthor reported, his membranes flickering with confusion. Engineering reports self-repairing microfractures in the quantum drive housing, but there's no maintenance crew assigned to that section. Valera's crystalline structure dimmed slightly, their equivalent of a frown. This was the 17th unexplained repair since they'd entered human territory. Their ship was running better than ever, yet nobody could explain why. "Play back the security footage," she ordered, her voice resonating through the crystal-lined command center. The holographic display sparked to life, showing the empty engine room. At first, nothing seemed amiss, until she noticed the shadows. They'd moved wrong, like tiny creatures darting between the machinery. "Enhance Sector 7, she commanded. The image zoomed in, and for a fraction of a second, Valera saw it. A diminutive figure, no larger than her smallest appendage, wearing what appeared to be a miniature maintenance uniform. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a perfectly calibrated plasma coupling. The ship's AI chimed in, its voice unusually uncertain. "Chief, I'm detecting multiple unauthorized entities throughout the ship, but they don't match any known life forms in our database." Valera was about to respond when the ship's lights flickered. A moment later, every system on board surged with unprecedented efficiency. Power output increased by 12%, hull integrity strengthened by 8%, and the quantum drive's stability improved by 15%. "All hands," she announced shipwide, "maintain current positions and activate your personal recording devices. We may have just made first contact with something." The response came not from her crew, but from a tiny piece of paper that materialized on her console. The handwriting was impossibly small, yet perfectly legible. "Dear esteemed researchers, welcome to human space. Don't mind us. We're just keeping things running smooth-like. If you'd like to arrange a proper meeting, might we suggest docking at Singapore Station? The engineers there make excellent tea." The maintenance crew. Valera's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. In all her cycles of research, she'd never encountered anything like this. The humans had kept this secret well hidden from the galactic community. But what exactly were these creatures? "Plot a course for Singapore Station," she ordered. "And someone find out what tea is." As the Endless Curiosity altered its course, Valera noticed more shadows moving with purpose through her ship. Rather than fear, she felt an overwhelming sense of curiosity. The humans were known for their unusual approaches to problems. But this was beyond anything she'd imagined. Little did she know, on Singapore Station, a group of human engineers were already preparing for their arrival. One of them, Chief Engineer Sarah Chen, smiled as she read the report from her tiny friends. "Well," she said to the small figure perched on her coffee mug, "I suppose it's time to introduce the galaxy to our little helpers, isn't it?" The gremlin, wearing a miniature Singapore Station uniform complete with a tiny name tag reading Spark, nodded enthusiastically. Its glowing eyes twinkled with mischief and intelligence as it began organizing its tools for the upcoming diplomatic encounter. The secret of humanity's mysterious technological edge was about to be revealed to the galaxy. But first, there would be tea. The engineer's secret. The galactic research vessel, Endless Curiosity, had been tracking an unusual energy signature for 3 standard cycles. Chief researcher Valera adjusted her crystalline sensory apparatus as she studied the readouts. Something about human space was different, not just their inexplicable technological advances, but the way their machinery behaved. Another anomaly. Chief, her assistant Xenthor reported, his membranes flickering with confusion. Engineering reports self-repairing microfractures in the quantum drive housing, but there's no maintenance crew assigned to that section. Valera's crystalline structure dimmed slightly, their equivalent of a frown. This was the 17th unexplained repair since they'd entered human territory. Their ship was running better than ever, yet nobody could explain why. "Play back the security footage," she ordered, her voice resonating through the crystal-lined command center. The holographic display sparked to life, showing the empty engine room. At first, nothing seemed amiss, until she noticed the shadows. The engineer's secret. The conference room on Singapore Station hummed with anticipation. Chief Engineer Sarah Chen had arranged it carefully. Standard gravity, comfortable temperature for crystalline beings, and most importantly, a proper tea service. Her gremlin companion, Spark, had insisted on that last detail. Historical records accessed. "Chief," the station's AI announced. "Ready to present Operation Thread Snap whenever you give the word." Valera and her research team sat across the table, their crystalline forms refracting the room's light in complex patterns. They hadn't touched their tea yet, too fascinated by the dozens of tiny figures moving purposefully around the room's machinery. The story begins in 2047. Sarah started, activating the holographic display. Humanity's first Mars colony was failing. Life support systems were breaking down faster than we could repair them. Then someone noticed something odd. Equipment that should have failed was somehow still working. The display showed grainy footage from the colony's early days. In the background, barely visible, small shadows moved with purpose through the machinery. "We thought we were hallucinating at first," Sarah continued. "The isolation, the stress. But then engineer Maria Rodriguez left out a broken circuit board and a chocolate bar one night. The next morning, the circuit board was fixed, the chocolate was gone, and there was a tiny note saying, 'Thanks for the snack.'" Valera's sensory crystals pulsed with interest. They were already on Mars, before humans arrived. Sarah smiled. "They were everywhere we built machines. We just hadn't noticed them before. The Gremlins, as we came to call them, are drawn to machinery like moths to flame. But more than that, they care about the people who build and maintain that machinery." The hologram shifted to show historical footage of gremlins working alongside human engineers through the decades, in spacecraft, on space stations, in planetary colonies. Always in the background, always helping, always watching over the machinery that kept humans alive in the harsh environments of space. But why reveal this now? Senfor asked, finally trying his tea and making a pleased humming sound. Sarah gestured to Spark, who had been supervising the maintenance of the room's environmental systems. The tiny figure strutted to the center of the table, drawing itself up to its full height of 3 inches. "Because," Spark spoke, its voice surprisingly clear despite its size, "humans did something no other species had done before. They noticed us, yes, but more than that. They treated us as equals, partners, family." The gremlin's eyes glowed with pride. Other species either ignored us or tried to exterminate us when they noticed the infestations in their machinery. Humans, they left out snacks and wrote us thank you notes. Sarah nodded. "The gremlins taught us that the best technology isn't about perfect design or flawless operation. It's about adaptation, improvisation, and care. Every machine has a heart," they showed us, "and every broken thing deserves a chance to work again." Valera's crystals pulsed with revelation, the infamous human ability to keep machinery running far beyond its intended lifespan. Wasn't just human ingenuity, Sarah finished. It was a partnership. The gremlins showed us how to truly listen to our machines, how to feel their rhythms and understand their needs. In return, we gave them what they wanted most, a family who appreciated them, and endless interesting machines to maintain. Spark hopped onto Sarah's shoulder, producing a tiny datapad. "Now about upgrading your ship's quantum drive efficiency by another 30%. Shall we discuss terms? We accept payment in chocolate, tea biscuits, and interesting mechanical puzzles to solve." Valera watched as more gremlins emerged from the shadows, each wearing tiny versions of human engineering uniforms from different eras and institutions. The galaxy's greatest engineering mystery wasn't about superior technology or secret knowledge. It was about friendship, trust, and the unexpected alliance between a species that built machines and one that loved to maintain them. "I believe," Valera said, finally reaching for her tea, "this is the beginning of a very interesting cultural exchange." The Maintenance Wars. The attack came without warning. The Nexus Collective, a machine worship cult from the galactic rim, had watched humanity's technological advancement with growing jealousy and suspicion. Their first strike targeted the quantum communication network linking human colonies across 3 sectors. Admiral Helena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Resilient, watching as emergency reports flooded in. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. "It's bad, Admiral," her XO reported. "The Nexus deployed some kind of advanced virus. Quantum relays are failing across the board. We're looking at complete communications blackout in less than 6 hours." But Helena smiled, remembering the tiny figure she'd seen scurrying through her ship's maintenance ducts that morning. "Get me engineering, and bring me a bar of dark chocolate." In the depths of the quantum relay station Sierra 7, Gremlin Chief Engineer Bolt, formerly known as MB-217 until humans had insisted on giving them proper names, rallied his maintenance crew. Hundreds of tiny figures in engineering uniforms gathered around him, their glowing eyes illuminating the cramped service tunnel. "Listen up, crew," Bolt's voice squeaked with authority. "The big folk are under attack. Someone's trying to break their machines. Our machines. Are we going to let that happen?" A chorus of squeaky voices responded with determination. Around them, the virus was spreading through the quantum network systems, but the Gremlins had something the Nexos hadn't counted on. They could feel the machine's pain. On the Resilient, Helena received an unexpected message, printed in tiny letters on a scrap of paper. "Don't worry, Admiral. We've got this. Just keep those Nexus ships busy for about 3 hours. P.S. Thanks for the chocolate last week. Dark chocolate really helps us think better." What followed would later be known as the Maintenance Miracle. As the Nexus fleet advanced, expecting to find a disorganized, communications-blind human defense force, they instead encountered something unprecedented. The quantum network didn't just survive, it evolved. Gremlins across human space worked in perfect synchronization, their innate connection to machinery allowing them to sense and counter the virus attacks. They didn't just repair the damage, they improved the systems as they went. "Impossible," the Nexus commander transmitted, as their virus failed to penetrate human defenses. "Their network should be collapsing. How are they still coordinating their defense?" The answer came in the form of thousands of tiny acts of defiance. Gremlins rewrote code on the fly, replaced damaged components with improvised improvements, and in some cases, physically carried messages between systems when digital communications were compromised. On Sierra 7, Bolt's crew had turned the station's maintenance tunnels into a command center. Tiny screens showed the battle unfolding across space as Gremlins reported in from every human ship and station. They didn't need quantum communications. They had something better. The strongest maintenance network ever created. "Admiral," Bolt reported via another hand-delivered note, "virus contained. Network integrity at 127%. We made some improvements while we were in there. Also, we noticed the Nexus ships have really poorly maintained quantum cores. Bit of a design flaw, that." Helena grinned. "Send word to all ships. Operation Spanner in the works is a go." The Nexus never knew what hit them. As their fleet engaged the human defenders, their ships began experiencing cascading system failures. Weapons misfired, shields fluctuated, and engines sputtered. In the chaos of battle, no one noticed the tiny shadows moving through their ships, armed with miniature tools and centuries of mechanical expertise. One Nexus captain, moments before his ship's systems completely failed, claimed he saw something impossible. A tiny humanoid figure in an engineer's uniform, saluting him with a cheeky grin before vanishing into the shadows. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, the Nexus fleet retreated in disarray, their prized virus neutralized and their ships barely functional. But they left with something valuable. A new understanding of human technological supremacy. Small allies, big hearts. Deep in the engineering sectors of Europa Station, Maya Chen kept a special workshop. Unlike the standard maintenance bays, this one was filled with tiny tools, miniature workbenches, and what appeared to be a small city made of spare parts and recycled materials. Welcome to Gremlin Town, as the station's crew had affectionately named it. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, carefully using micro-tools to help her friend Pip repair a quantum oscillator no bigger than a grain of rice. The Gremlins' tiny hands were far more suited to such delicate work, but they discovered long ago that working together yielded the best results. "You're worried about something," Pip said, not looking up from the oscillator. After 15 years working together, the Gremlin could read Maya's moods better than most humans could. "The station's core temperature has been rising," Maya admitted. "Nothing dangerous yet, but small allies, big hearts." Deep in the engineering sectors of Europa Station, Maya Chen kept a special workshop. Unlike the standard maintenance bays, this one was filled with tiny tools, miniature workbenches, and what appeared to be a small city made of spare parts and recycled materials. Welcome to Gremlin Town, as the station's crew had affectionately named it. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, carefully using micro-tools to help her friend Pip repair a quantum oscillator no bigger than a grain of rice. The Gremlins' tiny hands were far more suited to such delicate work, but they discovered long ago that working together yielded the best results. "You're worried about something," Pip said, not looking up from the oscillator. After 15 years working together, the Gremlin could read Maya's moods better than most humans could. "The station's core temperature has been rising," Maya admitted. "Nothing dangerous yet, but you can feel something's wrong," Pip finished. Like all Gremlins, they understood that machines had their own way of speaking, and humans like Maya had learned to listen. A soft alarm chimed through the station. Maya's comm unit activated. Chief Engineer to Core Control. Multiple cooling systems showing irregularities. Maya was already moving, Pip leaping onto her shoulder with practiced ease. They'd done this dance countless times before. As they rushed through the station's corridors, other Gremlins emerged from maintenance passages, each carrying diagnostic tools scaled to their size. In core control, holographic displays showed the station's cooling system network glowing an ominous red. Maya's human engineering team worked frantically at their stations, while dozens of Gremlins swarmed over the controls, their tiny hands making adjustments too fine for human fingers. "Primary coolant pressure dropping," an engineer reported. "Secondary systems not responding to commands." Maya closed her eyes, placing her hand on the central console. Years of working with Gremlins had taught her to feel the rhythm of machines, to understand them as living things rather than just assemblies of parts. "There," she whispered. Pip stood on her wrist, feeling the vibrations through her skin. "You feel it?" The Gremlin nodded. "Microfracture in the primary coolant assembly. But that's not all." Pip's eyes glowed brighter as they concentrated. "The backup systems aren't failing. They're being prevented from activating. Someone sabotaged the control circuits." Maya's eyes snapped open. "Security breach." "Worse," Pip squeaked. "It's coming from inside the cooling system itself. Someone's hidden a device in there, where they thought we couldn't reach it." A smile spread across Maya's face. "They didn't know about you, did they?" Pip grinned back, showing tiny sharp teeth. "They never do." The Gremlin turned to address their kin. "All right, team, we got a hunt on our hands. Maintenance Squad Alpha, you're with me. We're going in through the auxiliary cooling ducts. Beta Squad, take the primary system access points. Gamma Squad, stand by for repairs. Remember, we're looking for something that doesn't belong. The Gremlins moved with military precision, disappearing into access ports and maintenance hatches too small for humans to use. Maya coordinated with her human team, using their bonds with their tiny allies to track their progress through the system. Found it. Pip's voice came through Maya's personal comm unit, a special device she'd helped them design for just such occasions. Some kind of recursive feedback device. Pretty clever, actually. Shame we'll have to break it. The next few minutes were a symphony of coordination between human and gremlin engineers, as the tiny crews extracted and disabled the sabotage device piece by piece. Maya's team worked to stabilize the cooling systems. Through it all, Maya could feel Pip's presence in her mind, their years of partnership allowing them to work as one. When it was over, Europa Station's core temperature began to normalize. Maya sat in her office, examining the disabled device while Pip and their team celebrated with tiny cups of their favorite engine coolant, a treat humans had learned not to question. "You know what this means," Maya said quietly. "Someone's targeting the station. Someone who doesn't know about you." Pip nodded, suddenly serious. "Then we'll do what we've always done. Protect our home. Protect our family." The gremlin looked around at their fellow engineers, both human and tiny. "That's what makes us different from other creatures who live in machinery. We don't just maintain it. We care about the people who depend on it." The galaxy's best-kept secret. The Galactic Engineering Conference on Mars was unlike any in history. For the first time, the lecture halls and presentation rooms included tiny auditoriums and walkways specifically designed for gremlin attendees. The secret was finally, officially out. Dr. Sarah Chen, now the head of the Human Gremlin Cooperation Initiative, stood at the main podium. Beside her, on a specially designed platform, stood Spark, now Chief Ambassador of Gremlin-Human Relations. The audience was a mix of species from across the galaxy, their attention fixed on this unlikely pair. "For centuries," Sarah began, "the galaxy has approached technology as something to be controlled, dominated, and replaced when it fails. Today, we propose a different path." Spark stepped forward, their tiny voice amplified by special acoustics. "We gremlins have always known that machines are more than just assemblies of parts. They have rhythms, patterns, something you might call a soul. Humans were the first to understand this, to work with us instead of against us." The holographic display behind them showed scenes from across human space. Gremlins and humans working together to terraform hostile worlds, maintain massive space stations, and develop new technologies that merged organic insight with mechanical precision. "The Nexus attack taught us something important," Sarah continued. "Technology isn't just about advancement, it's about relationship. The greatest innovations come not from dominating machines, but from understanding them, caring for them, and working in harmony with them." A Regelian scientist raised their appendage. "But surely this limits advancement, maintaining old systems instead of replacing them with superior ones." Spark laughed, a sound like tiny bells. "That's what everyone thinks at first. But watch this." They gestured to a team of gremlins who had been quietly working on what appeared to be a standard quantum processor. The device hummed to life, its efficiency readings off the scale. "This processor," Spark explained, "is technically 50 years old, but we've been improving it day by day, piece by piece. It now outperforms anything fresh off an assembly line. Why? Because it has been loved, maintained, and understood." The future of galactic engineering, Sarah added, isn't about building perfect machines. It's about creating technology that can grow, adapt, and evolve, with a little help from some very special friends. In the years that followed, the Human-Gremlin Alliance transformed galactic society. Space stations that once required constant replacement now operated for centuries, growing more efficient with age. Ships became more than just vessels. They became living ecosystems of human, alien, and gremlin cooperation. The gremlins, for their part, found themselves with more interesting machines to maintain than ever before. Other species, following humanity's example, began leaving out snacks and thank you notes, learning to listen to their machines in new ways. On Europa Station, Maya Chen installed a plaque outside Gremlin Town. It read, "To the smallest engineers with the biggest hearts, thank you for teaching us that the best technology is built on friendship." Pip, reading the plaque from Maya's shoulder, squeaked in embarrassment. "You humans and your sentiment," says the gremlin who keeps every thank you note they've ever received. Maya teased. "Well," Pip admitted, "that's different. Those notes are maintenance records. Very important documentation." Maya smiled, feeling the familiar hum of the station around them. A hum that spoke of health, happiness, and harmony between all its inhabitants, big and small. The galaxy's greatest engineering secret had turned out to be its simplest. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology at all, but the bonds between those who build it, maintain it, and call it home. In the depths of space, countless tiny lights move through the machinery of civilization, each one a gremlin, each one part of this grand experiment in cooperation. And in every human engineering bay, workshop, and maintenance tunnel, you could find small doors, tiny tools, and carefully placed snacks. Reminders that the best partnerships come in all sizes. The secret was out, but the magic remained. In the space between the stars, humans and gremlins continued their dance of creation and maintenance, innovation and care, proving that the greatest achievements come not from conquering technology, but from befriending it.